Afternoon all. Great to see those responses. Clearly people are really finding today a stimulating and informative event, so that's great. We're going to go into what is almost now the last bit of the day, and it's a little question and answer session between myself and Rudy here. I'm the Q and Rudy's the A. Normally, with these things, you kind of sit down at comfortable armchairs, don't you?
Yeah.
You seem to have been left standing up. There we go. No, mind, no complaints. Okay, just to remind you, Rudy became homeless last year, and Rudy's response to that was to work with CLAMI to raise the particular issues about LGBTQ and homelessness. I just wonder, Rudy, if you could start by just sort of outlining the circumstances, what happened, what events happened that actually led to your homelessness.
Yeah. Basically, I came out as a transgender man when I was at university in Bath, and my friends and chosen family, they were great and supportive. But then when I came back to South Wales, I wasn't capable of getting a graduate job at that point because my mental health was not great. So I came back home to live with the family, and they are very conservative religious, so they really struggled with the idea that I'd come out as trans, and the family sort of broke down over months. And I went to stay on people's sofas and all kinds of things, and then finally ended up back in South Wales again and presented homeless to the council. And yeah, that was kind of how I first did.
So what happened
Yeah.
when you presented to the council?
So it came about because I'd actually gone to a domestic violence charity to get help with the situation at home, and they said, you're going to be at risk of homicide in the next 6 months if you don't get out of there today. So then the council gave me 3 options, because there was kind of protocol for trans people with domestic violence, which I think was incredible. But they said, so you can go to a women's shelter, or you can go to a man's shelter, or you can present homeless. And I had just started testosterone at that point, so I didn't really feel comfortable going to a man's shelter. A women's shelter I knew that would be a terrible idea given the current media hysteria over people like me in gender shelters. So I basically chose homelessness and ended up in a bed and breakfast, which isn't as nice as it sounds. You know, when they first said bed and breakfast, I was like, ooh, chocolates on the pillows. No, that's not what happened. It was above one of those pubs where when you go in, everyone turns to look at you and sort of like stops talking. It was, yeah, a lot of fun. And then you only had one meal a day there because there were no kitchens. You know, you just had a kettle in your room, and then you had breakfast. And at breakfast, we all had to have it at the same time. And there was a guy who'd recently come out of prison for beating up a gay man. And so I was sitting there at breakfast, or he was like boasting about this terrible violence, and I was thinking, uh-oh, what's going to happen next, you know? Because I was getting more sort of masculine looking by the day, and it was becoming more and more obvious that I was queer. So I wrote to my assembly member, the N-word, and I said, I'm in this situation, I don't know what to do, can you help? And then within about 3 days, I was in one of my emergency rooms, and you know, one of the questions I asked, you know, the room at several of these events, I was, why did I have to write to the AM? Why was I put in an unsafe environment? Why wasn't I put straight into my emergency room? Haven't had an answer yet, but maybe we will today. So yeah.
Well, I'm interested, when the council put you in bed and breakfast, what did they see as the end game? Did they say, we'll put you in bed and breakfast and this is what will happen next, or was it just...
They were basically like, okay, so that's... No, they didn't really know. They did tell me that, you know, oh, in a few weeks you'll get a place, but I was actually not top priority for... Because it works in like a tiered system, and you know, if you're top priority, you get put right to the top of the list of the waiting list, and I was 3rd priority out of 4, so I wasn't even nearly close. I think I was like 46 on the waiting list each week. So they were like, yeah. So and then as I was talking to the people in the bed and breakfast, they were like, yeah, I've been here 6 months, and I broke 20 like last week. So I was thinking, uh-oh, this will be fun. So yeah, so I knew that wasn't. I couldn't have waited 6 months because my mental health and that guy at the breakfast table, I knew it wasn't going to work. So luckily I knew to write to my AM, but a lot of people wouldn't have known you could do that. So,
sure.
Yeah.
So do you think your gender, your sexuality was an issue in terms of your interaction with those services? I mean, was that...
Yeah, I mean, they tried their best. Like, they didn't really know what to do with me. I don't know that I was the first trans person they dealt with, but it felt like that. They would try really hard. They were like, yeah, you know, we'll put you in a man's shelter, we'll put you in a man's hostel. And I was like, okay, but that's not safe. Like, I know that you're trying to be, like, you're trying to support my gender identity and all that, but it's realistically, we're not at a point in our society yet where if you check me, like, a year ago before I looked as masculine as I do now in an all-men shelter with traumatised men, that's just not going to end well. Especially considering I'd been a victim of domestic violence and sexual violence before, so I wasn't up for that. But they tried hard, but they just didn't know what to do because I wasn't part of the protocol. This was the problem. They just didn't have a form to tell them what to do with me.
Not part of the protocol, okay, yeah. Right. Okay, so what do you think should be done, Rudy, in terms of addressing those kind of issues that you encountered, no doubt you've seen other people encounter as well, in terms of improving services to people who are homeless?
Yeah, one thing I think in terms of, obviously we've talked about long-term poverty needs to be addressed, welfare needs to be addressed, all that, so obviously people that. But in terms of like LGBTQ specifically, obviously more needs to be done to be educated people about LGBT issues and how vulnerable we actually are. I always say that people, the average person on the street knows what LGBT means, but when I say I'm a trans man, they kind of go, so which way around is that? What's going on, you know, down there? I've had literal doctors ask me that, by the way. So like the ignorance, not, you know, mean, but they just don't know what it means. So that needs to change. The media, obviously, hostility needs to change. I was scared to access refuge because of the media, that's the bottom line. Like, people don't seem to realise there are real people behind these, you know, clickbait headlines. And also, I think one of the things that will work pretty well is having the option for queer people to go to LGBT shelters or non-gendered shelters, because, as I always say, the theory behind gendered shelters is, oh, if a woman's been abused by a man, she won't want to go to a shelter with men there. But if you get a lesbian who's been abused by a woman, what happens to her? She goes to a gendered shelter with other women who she might not feel comfortable with. So not just for trans people, but for gays and lesbians, bisexual people, and also single mums with like 17-year-old sons, because often 17-year-old son isn't going to be wanted in the women's shelters. So a lot of different people would benefit from, I think, non-gendered domestic violence shelters and LGBT specific ones. I know there's one in Brill that did you talk about it earlier? I don't remember. But that we're hoping will be successful as well. So yeah.
Would you mind telling us what the situation is now? Would you mind telling us?
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice story at the end. So almost exactly a year ago, I was presented to the Council of Homeless. Now I'm in a stable, supported housing with Lamai. I'm a master's student at Cardiff University, running a group for trans non-binary people locally because they didn't have any kind of social network, so I sort of set one up. And yeah, so in the space of a year with the right support, it just shows, you know, what can happen. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Rudy. Would you mind if anybody else has got one? Would anyone else like to ask Rudy a question about his experiences, particularly his experiences with homelessness services? Yeah.
Good question. Do you think that the stage when you came out, sorry, just let me know if I've stopped talking.
No, it's fine.
Do you think a family intervention could help improve the situation from going that way?
So
it was quite complicated.
The question is about family intervention, in case you didn't hear.
Yeah, so it was, for me, it was like the religion was one part of it, and some of my family really wanted to be okay with it, but they were raised to not be okay with it, so they were kind of like, ooh, we love you, but what's going on? But one member of my family who has complex behavioural issues was really not okay with it and quite violent, so I don't think the mediation would have worked for that. But then maybe that would work for some people, but for me it was a bit complicated, so I don't think it would have worked.
Yes.
Did you have a lot of support from health services? Was there any
No.
So the question is, sorry, just the question is, did you have support from health services? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And if
And what could it be?
Well, okay, so when I was at university, I'd been to mental health services so many times, and the closest I got to support was when I was in Bath, and they said, right, so you probably have borderline personality disorder, but we're not going to actually diagnose you because then we'd have to do something, and we don't have the resources to do anything. So I'm still sitting here like 5 years later, and I'm telling the GP, I have this, and she's like, no, you don't. And I'm like, yes, but it's not my notes. But yeah, so that was one thing, and then it was super difficult to access hormones. I'm sure, I don't know how much people know about the healthcare system of trans people, but it's absolutely dire. At the moment, we're looking at 32-month waiting lists. So you come out, and you're like, yay, I'm ready to come out and live my best life. Then you go to the GP, and it takes, I think, 4 months from that appointment, so the actual referral going through, and then another 32 months to actually see the gender clinic, and then there can be 6 months between appointments. So I went private and basically bankrupted myself because I didn't really have much of a choice. And my GP was great, but she had no idea how to deal with it. She was like, I want to give you hormones, but I don't know how to do it, medically. But now, luckily, there is a GP in Cardiff who is doing bridging hormones now. I'm with him, Dr. Braybrook, who's great. But yeah, for the majority of trans people, it's not looking good for us at all. Hopefully, they've just opened the Welsh Gender Service, so hopefully that will get better. But at the moment, they're seeing only a few people, so we'll see.
I'm not sure whether most people are aware that today's the Trans Day of Remembrance. Yeah. I was just wondering whether you think days like that are something that housing services should support.
Yeah, I recently been working with Mine to look at like the LGBT calendar and seeing what they can do to kind of support all year rather than just at Pride. So I think that's something that other agencies should do. But I mean, the Trans Day of Remembrance is a bit tricky because it's a very kind of it's a remembrance day, it's not like a day of celebration, so it's sort of private to the trans community in some ways, and that's a particular one. But I think engaging with, there is a very great network of trans people in Cardiff who do a lot of events all throughout the year. There's Trans Pride, that'll be on next November. Baby Pride is another great grassroots pride. So I'd say just try and engage with these groups. There's so many LGBT groups that most of us without funding, and reach out to them and talk to them and see what they need and thing. But yeah, specifically Trans Remembrance is a bit of a private affair, I feel sometimes.
Okay.
When you got the support in the end, what were the kind of key things that made the difference there in terms of either the quality of support or the relationships you had there? What were the kind of key things that really made a difference?
Yeah, there were a few very, very key things. I had an LGBT support worker, so she was amazing, singing praises wherever I go. She gets very embarrassed about it. Luckily, she's not here today, so I can say it. She was absolutely amazing. When the homeless intervention team got involved when I was living in Plymouth, they said, we're going to put you in this hostel with all teenage boys, and I was freaking out. And she basically was like, no, he's not. We're going to look after him now. Your job's over. That's that. So she stood up for me. She knew that wasn't going to work, and she's been really good and really supportive with me. So that was one. And the second thing is they don't have we're going to do this, and this for every single person. What they do is they sit down and they ask, what do you think you need to make it? What do you want? And once they put all that in place, they try and empower you as much as they can to actually go and do that. So they didn't get me into Cardiff University, I got into Cardiff University, but if I didn't have that support, I wouldn't have even thought about applying. So yeah, they basically empower you to do the work yourself, which is really good, I think.
Let's take one more, shall we? There is one more. Yeah.
At what point would you feel was the most constructive intervention? At what point would the most constructive intervention have taken place? So everything left until crisis.
Honestly, when I was a kid, I went to CAMS from when I was about 13 to when I was kicked out, because I was 18, and they did basically nothing with me the whole time. I just kept getting discharged and then re-referred and discharged, re-referred. If I'd had, so what was it that I had? It wasn't CBT, it was like a practical kind of therapy to give me coping mechanisms. I think it would have been a very different story if I'd had that when I was a teenager. But I didn't actually get that until I was about 22, so by that point a lot of damage has already been done, you know, so yeah.
Okay. Okay, a challenging story, but you say a happy ending.
Yeah, happy ending, I'm good. I mean, I'm sure. Yeah.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, Rudy Harries. Hold on to it. I think really we're supposed to do some closing remarks now, if you've got any closing remarks. It occurred to me that it's already been said today, people have been asking people who are not housing people to put their hands up. I'm not going to ask you to do that, but I'm particularly interested about those of you who are not housing people, what you got out today. I mean, all that stuff we saw up on the screen there, informative, interesting, stimulating. Is there anything anyone would like to add to that, just their view of today? And I'm particularly looking at people who are not housing, if possible. Because I know what people from the housing sector would say. Isn't it great we're in the room with people who are not housing?
I can see everyone doing the classic uni thing. You just look at your papers and do honest to pick on you.
I think it is important, though, that we're here as a mixed group, because it is clear, we've said it a few times today, that you can't resolve homelessness from just the housing position, as it were, but at the same time, you can't resolve homelessness without a home. So clearly we need to join together much more effectively to together resolve the issues of homelessness and prevent homelessness wherever possible, and as far back as we can possibly go as well, prevent those challenges and those tragedies occurring. I've got nothing else to add. I found it a really interesting day. It's been great talking to people who are not from housing. I mean, apart from my family, you're the first time I've spoken to anyone who's not from housing. So that's been great. Are there really, if you've got any views?
Yeah, I think that the thing that I really liked about today was that there was a very big emphasis on it's not just a housing issue. This is a society systemic issue that we all have a part in. So that was something that I thought was really positive, and also it means that we all have like something we can do to help. You know, it's not all up to a few select people. So hopefully, something good will come out of today. I'm looking at everybody and I'm expecting to do something. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's very important. Take action. Okay, well, if there's nothing else, I think I probably should tell you, please, if you haven't already done it, fill out the feedback forms. But if there's nothing else, Rudy, have you got anything else? No. I think we have said it all now. So thanks very much for a constructive day and for engaging so well in the day. And please have a safe journey. Thank you.